So I'm a writer. I write stories. I'm a journalist. I have been for most of my career. I started off as a comedian. Then I worked in radio. Then I moved into writing. I learned how to be a writer. This channel is about being a writer. It's about the stories I write, the stuff I cover on a day-to-day basis, the things I see, my vision of things. It's not clean. It's not sterile. It's not the pretty stuff. I think there's too much of this re-engineering in the world. Too much of this Pete, and repeat stuff going on. And I want to do things my own way. I spend a lot of time trying to appease the sterilizers, if you will, of the mainstream media. This is not it. This is not the place you come to be entertained by sterile content. I don't believe in it. I don't like it. I think it's useless. The people who write it are garbage. I think there's a few good writers left out there, but most of the journalists today, the real journalists, you don't even know their names. You don't even know where they come from. You couldn't tell me one major newspaper journalist today. You can tell me columnist. And these people that you see on the internet and on TV, I don't know if they're so much journalists as much as they are entertainers, right? Because news is entertainment. Writing is entertainment. People like to be entertained. That's just the way it is. I'm not here to entertain you, okay? That's not my goal. My goal here is to connect with you. I'm going to write whatever I want to write. I'm going to tell the story however I want to tell the story. And I hope you enjoy it. I guess some people do. About 10,600 people do already. And not to mention those that are on my newsletter. They get these inspired rants every day in their mailbox. This is an interesting project because, look, let me tell you how I view the world, okay? The media world, okay? If you're slightly left, you probably watch CNN. If you're really far left, you watch MSNBC. If you're right, you watch Fox, right? Maybe OAN, something like that, right? The way I see it, they're not so much news. They're just validating your worldview. They're not there to inform you. They're not there to give you information. They're not there to take you into something. They're just there to validate your worldview. I think a journalist should take you further into it. A journalist should take you inside of it from their perspective, right? I mean, the great writers, the Thomas Wolfes, the Tom Wolfes, two very different people, the Hunter Thompsons, Norm Mailers, people like that, John Krakauer. Those people took you into a world that were very different. And they told you a story, and they were journalists, and they in some way, I'm not a huge fan of movies, but I like movie producers, and I like some movies, right? One of the greatest out there, I think, right now is Sean Penn. Most people don't even know too much about him, but Sean Penn tells a wonderful story. Journalism, I like people like Hunter Thompson. I like Charlie Rose. I like the real tough guys of news. It's what I grew up with. The Peter Jennings, the Dan Rathers, the Hunter Thompsons, Norm Mailers, people like that. They were constantly evolving in their career, constantly evolving. And I think that that's what I'm doing here with YouTube, with TikTok, with all these other social media platforms, is trying to evolve into a new breed of what I think news should be, Hunter Thompson did gonzo journalism, or Mailer did new journalism. Krakauer, they did, some of the others, they adventured into this new journalism. I do some things called 360 journalism. It's just kind of in your face, raw, real, immersive, and tries to give you a 360 degree perspective in a language that we all use every day in our homes, in our lives. at the bar, at the crack house, you know. And you don't learn how to talk like somebody at the crack house unless you've been to the crack house. You don't learn how to talk to somebody at a bar if you've never been to a bar. You don't learn how to talk with church people unless you've been to church. I was raised in church. I don't have anything against church. I have everything against modern American Christians, but not against church itself. You know, the Western church, if you will. And I think that's partly what this channel is evolved into, is a way of me connecting with you, and a way of connecting with the people around me. And I hope that's you, right? Because obviously I want people to subscribe. I want them to get my newsletter and stuff like that. And I put a lot of thought into what I'm writing. And you know, I don't have this big journalism degree and all this other stuff that you have to have, you know, mass communications and all this stuff. You know, it's hardcore. You know, it's learning this stuff on the street and learning how to do it and applying it to yourself, you know, to the world that you live in. And this is what I'm doing. I take the language of the crack house, the language of the whorehouse, the language of the addict, the language of the drunk, the immigrant, the non-documented person, you know, people that I hang around with on normal, you know, drug addicts and stuff, you know, and politicians. So you know, because they're the worst of society. You know, they're the worst, the absolute worst that America has to offer. Look at a politician, anybody that runs for office, any office, I don't care what it is. They're just disgusting. And the people that attend these meetings and that are civically minded, civically active, they're some of the worst too, because they create more problems than they solve. And in their mind, they're convinced that they're solving a problem. And I think that we should have to take these people on, and we should have to expose these people. And the only way you're going to really do that is to get embedded with these people, to get inside of them, and to figure out what their mind is, and then explain the weird shit that you find. And explain it from a very 360-degree perspective with data and with, you know, FOIAs and all this other stuff. That's what this channel is about. So I've had this channel for quite a while. It's evolved a lot over time. I mainly cover things in Texas because, you know, you write about what you know, right? Okay. I know a thing or two about Texas, and how corrupt it is and how great it is and how wonderful it is, but how bad we are, right? Because we have people trying to come here and tell us what we are. I don't think that's the real Texas, but I write a lot about Texas, and I create a lot of videos about Texas and my perspective of it. So when people ask me what this channel is about, and people ask me what I'm all about, that's how I answer them, right? I mean, I've written probably 100 books. Probably 6 people have bought them, you know, because in today's world, you have to get the money behind you to run aggressive marketing campaigns. That's how a book or a newsletter or anything gets really done, is it has to be very cleverly marketed. I don't pitch money into that. I don't have that kind of money, so I don't pitch money into it. So all these people from foreign lands who call me and send messages and everything else trying to hit me up for money, don't, because I'm just a regular guy. I don't have that kind of money. I'm just a regular working journalist, right? So in the end, that's what this whole thing is about. And I hope somebody likes it. I hope somebody appreciates it, because I put a lot of work into my writing, into my work. I try to do a lot of my own video, my own photography. I have a lot of tools. I'm constantly evolving. That's what this channel is about. It's about an evolving world.